It's the news that Paula and Joey Reed have been anxiously waiting for.
We were on pins and needles every phone call. We're hoping that will be the call.
After being imprisoned for nearly 3 years in Russia, their son Trevor, a former U.S. Marine, is finally free and on his way back to the U.S. to be reunited with his family.
It's not going to hit us until we see him.
I mean, we're excited. We know he's on the plane, but I think it's going to really hit us when we get to put our arms around him and hug him.
30-year-old Reed was released after U.S. and Russian negotiators agreed to a prisoner swap. Russian state television capturing the two former prisoners passing each other on a tarmac in Turkey.
I'm going to stay home with Trevor every day and make him anything he wants every day. His favorite meal every day.
Reed's parents have been feverishly pleading with the U.S. government to help bring home their son, finally getting a meeting with President Biden last month at the White House.
What would your message be to President Biden right now?
Thank you. You saved our son's life.
U.S. and Russian officials have been negotiating this prisoner swap for months. But amid reports that Reed's health was deteriorating, the talks intensified.
When you saw that video of him being released, what did you think? What did he look like to you?
He looks horrible.
Yeah.
We cried. Both of us cried. We didn't, he looks terrible to us. He's very thin. He has these dark circles on his eyes.
His eyes are sunken in.
And he looks terrible.
Like malnourished or dehydrated.
The sudden exchange comes at a time when the world has turned against Russia for its relentless destruction in Ukraine. The U.S. hitting them with sweeping sanctions. Ambassador Bill Richardson was in Russia right before the war started, pressing for a deal to release Reed.
The good news here is that despite the terrible relationship that exists between the United States and Russia because of Ukraine, we're able to move the needle a little bit on a humanitarian exchange that is good for us, that is good for the Reed family, that is good for America. It doesn't mean that our policy towards Russia and Ukraine is changing, but it is a good sign that at least we're talking on humanitarian prisoner exchange issues.
Trevor Reed released in exchange for Konstantin Yeroshenko, a Russian pilot who had served more than 10 years of his 20-year sentence in Connecticut for drug smuggling.
I would emphasize that this individual had already served the majority of his prison sentence for a nonviolent drug crime, and our overriding priority here was the safe return of Trevor Reed.
He's a Russian. The Russians wanted him. They want others too. And it was something that I think was, in the end, a good deal.
It was the summer of 2019. Reed, then 28, was in Moscow visiting his girlfriend. He was traveling home with friends after a late night of heavy drinking when, according to his girlfriend, he became unmanageable and forced them to pull over. Reed's friends called police, who agreed to take the Texas native to the station to sober up. But Russian authorities say on the way to the station, an intoxicated Reed violently assaulted the officers in the car and grabbed the vehicle's steering wheel, causing it to swerve. He was later charged with endangering the lives of the officers, despite evidence contradicting the officers' accounts. Reed's lawyers said traffic camera footage showed the car never swerved and that Russian investigators never handed over other security camera footage that could have bolstered his case.
Every single piece of evidence that was used in this case was taken by my attorneys. The investigator refused to take video evidence from the vehicle that I was in after we made several requests.
Nearly a year later, Trevor Reed is sentenced to 9 years in a Russian prison camp, the maximum sentence possible for the offense.
Inside of the prison that I'm in, the room across from me has murderers and terrorists there. The prosecutor is asking for less time than I just got.
The sentence devastated Alina Sibolnik, Reed's girlfriend, who was in the courtroom.
He's not guilty, I can say that. And he knew that they're going to give him like maximum amount of years. I was in shock and I wasn't ready for that. And I was crying and I said something to the judge, like, how can you do this or something like that.
In the years since, Reed has appealed his sentence, maintaining his innocence and calling the charges against him fabricated. Those appeals were denied.
Trevor remains in prison for a crime he didn't commit, so I'm very disappointed that justice has again been denied for Trevor.
Reed's stunning release is also renewing focus on bringing home at least 2 other Americans still detained in Russia. Another former U.S. Marine, Paul Whelan, and WNBA star Brittany Griner.
Paul should have been included in that swap.
In December 2018, Whelan was visiting Moscow for a friend's wedding when he was accused of being a spy by Russian authorities.
You're dragging me along, even though I've got a medical condition that prohibits this.
After a year and a half behind bars, Whelan was convicted in June of 2020 of espionage and sentenced to 16 years in a Russian jail. U.S. authorities and Whelan himself have said this is a hostage situation.
It's entirely designed to receive some benefit from the United States. Whatever it is the Russians want, I don't know.
2 months ago, WNBA star Brittany Griner was detained at a Russian airport on allegations of drug smuggling. The 2-time Olympic gold medalist was accused of having vape cartridges containing hashish oil in her luggage.
Whenever an American is detained anywhere in the world, we of course stand ready to provide every possible assistance, and that includes in Russia.
After weeks of little information about her well-being, U.S. officials were finally granted access to Griner last month.
The consular officer who visited with Brittany Griner was able to verify that she is doing as well as can be expected under these very difficult circumstances.
She remains in pretrial detention, with the court extending her detention until May 19th. Griner is one of the most dominant athletes in professional sports, standing at a towering 6'9", the center for the Phoenix Mercury.
Ever since she was a star at Baylor, she was an Olympian, and all her years in the WNBA, she's one of the greatest who's ever played the game. She's become an icon on her own.
But despite her success here in the States, for the past several years, she's spent the off seasons playing professional basketball elsewhere, in Russia.
The top WNBA salaries, they peter out around $500,000. Griner was making less than that. But in Russia, where oligarchs own these teams and put a lot of resources into it, players like Brittany Griner can make well more than $1 million just playing part of a season.
Back in 2017, our colleagues at ESPN's E60, owned by ABC News' parent company, traveled with Griner to Ekaterinburg to take a look at what her life was like overseas.
I got everything that you might need in here. So I have water and apple juice. So if you're thirsty, I got you.
This is hysterical.
In the U.S., Griner has long been open and proud about being a lesbian. But in Russia, where LGBTQ harassment and even violence is frequent, the star, known for being brash on the court, has had to be more discreet.
Over here, it's like, yes, you're good here, but just don't tell anyone, but you're fine. So it's like, still kind of cover yourself a little bit.
With Trevor Reed stepping back on American soil, there is renewed hope for bringing back Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan.
What would your message be to their families that are still waiting for that good news, waiting for them to come home?
Well, so our heart goes out to them. We know, I mean, we know how they feel. So waiting is horrible. But we're going to advocate for them. We're not going to stop thinking about them.
The fact that Trevor Reed happened is, I think, a good sign. We have to look at the good. You got to be optimistic.
But for now, Joey and Paula Reed consider themselves the lucky ones.
When you see him,
so when we see him,
what's that moment going to be like?
We've already said we're going to do a big group family hug. So his sister will be with us, and we'll all four just hug. And then, like Joey said, they may have to pull us apart because we won't want to let him go.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.